I'm going to start in the early 1900s with the auto industry. And the auto industry, as we know, is going to go through another major disruption over the next few years. It's already undergoing a major disruption. It's actually going to go through two disruptions over the next few years. But let's go back to the early 1900s. In 1918, about 7.7% of Americans owned a car, or American families owned a car. 7.7%. 11 years later, 80% owned a car. So those of you, so every time you hear, oh, you know, electric vehicles, it's like a tiny percent of a tiny percent, right? Just think about what gasoline vehicles, their adoption curve. They went from 7.7% of the market to 80% adoption in only 11 years, okay? And those were days when there were no roads to speak of, no gasoline, station infrastructure. I mean, it was, we had nothing like the infrastructure that we have today. And it went from 10x, from less than 8% to 80% adoption in just 11 years. What happened? What was the main driver, no pun intended, of that explosion in adoption? In 1919, General Motors and DuPont started a joint venture called GMAC, General Motors Acceptance Corporation. And they created a new financial product called car loans. So instead of folks having to pay basically the equivalent of more than 1 year of the average American salary to buy a car, they could pay it on a monthly basis. Okay? 7 years later, 75%, 7 years after GMAC came up with car loans, 75% of Americans bought their cars on credit. Same technology, same product, same capital cost, actually a little decreased capital cost, same markets, different business model. It was a financial innovation that basically fueled, again, no pun intended, or pun intended, the automobile market in America and took it from 7.7% adoption to 80% adoption. It was not a technology innovation. Okay, it was a business model innovation. So another thing happened in this process. Once this adoption starts happening, then of course costs start going down because volume goes up and the technology, as Avi was talking about, became democratized. So the Model T in 1908 retailed for $850, which was higher than the median American wage. And by 1914, it had dropped to $490, and by 1921, it was less than $400, $300. Okay, and this is the virtuous cycle that happens when there is a boom in market acceptance. Okay, and in this case, a disruptive product at the time went from just a few percent adoption to basically whole market adoption. So in the end, two things basically fed on each other and reinforced each other. A business model innovation, which is what fueled the market, which pushed costs down, which fueled the market, which virtuous cycle. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's talk about disrupting industries now. Okay? Business model innovation. So technology innovation clearly is important. And in this class, we're looking at many exponentially improving technologies. 3D printing, artificial intelligence, sensors, all that good stuff, right? Clearly, technology innovation is important. Strategic choices are important. What's your product? Who's your market? What's your pricing? And all those good things. Those things are huge. But business model innovation may be the key to unlock a new market or even to disrupt a market. And business model innovation is something that a lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs ignore at their own peril.